since he's here officially.
Ah,
Yeah, things. One of my neighbors actually stopped by my house and paid me $20 for plants I was going to pull up and throw away.
oh my goodness. Well, here we go. Anything for a buck. Hey.
And well, I'm
And
like,
then
well,
Ray said, please take it out
yeah, I'm like,
and
for
clean
two
after
dollars
yourself.
each. She said, give me 10. So I gave her 15 and I gave her 5 of other things. So
That's cool.
it is. She's very happy. And
Yeah,
welcome,
that's
Jennifer.
cool.
Her first time showing up.
Hi, Jennifer.
Jennifer,
I
yeah,
can't hear you
welcome.
yet, Tom. You gotta have to flip that mute switch.
Unmute you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Welcome, Christiana, Anna.
Welcome,
Hello,
Chris.
hello. Thank you,
Hello.
thank you.
Tom looks like he's almost satisfied.
Oh yeah, no, these cameras, it's kind of, yeah, it's all off kilter. So just a moment.
Everything can be off kilter just minutes before we have to use them.
And it's amazing.
Seconds.
Yeah, and we seem to have
And it
lots
was
of
all doing great until we have to use it.
and we do seem to have lots of patience for the channelers who are supposed to channel tonight.
What does that mean?
No, that just means that you're worth waiting for one thing, but like
He's
the
on
star of the
time.
show
He's
gets a
sharp
little
on
bit
time.
of
What are you talking
leeway,
about?
right?
Tom, it's 7:59. He still has a minute to be
I know.
yeah, or more,
He's a punctual dude.
Exactly. I mean, Tom, disregard all of that,
He's just a little bit of a
do your
professional.
thing.
Oh, but if he's not considering the source by now, I mean, come on.
Okay, I'm gonna take that and put it as a footnote to all the videos.
Oh,
I'll record it in your own words. Yeah. So it's a good footnote. It's official. It's official.
I'll just scream AI and we'll see what happens. No, my authenticity won't let me do that. It's like, nope. It's gotta be what it's gotta be.
AI channeling. Now there's an idea.
There is such a thing.
Well, I think I mean, everything's channeling in a sense, right?
Exactly. If you are in that field, yeah, that could be.
Well, and it's reflective too, right? So there's that.
Sure.
So I think we're kind of ready. Let me just
yeah. How many cameras do you have there?
Oh,
Tom?
just two.
Just two.
Just two.
You're still using phones for the cameras, or you have something?
Yeah, it's easier. I mean,
yeah.
Well, these are devices we have around anyway, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you got plenty of them. Yeah.
Well, it's only 1 minute after, so I'm sure besides the non-physical beings, there might be a couple physical ones rushing to come in.
Oh, like last minute stragglers, yeah, that's possible.
So have you explored any of the serious connections any further or anything else, Mr. Tom?
I have not. I haven't really been in the channeling field lately. I've been kind of like just somewhere else, you know what I mean?
You have been in the field, the large field.
Yeah.
That seems to be fairly common.
You get up and your shirt shows up, the beautiful what is it again? Baja Hearty? I mean that's when you said that you have not been, and all of a sudden it shows up, this is where I've been.
And welcome, Travis. Always good to have him here.
Hey, Travis, how are you doing?
Hopefully it's nice and cool where he's at. If not, he will make it
kind of warm here.
I turned off my AC, so you can tell there's no background noise.
No, it's a lot better, Travis. A lot better.
Yes, that was the only problem was the AC. The AC was interfering. ACs, I did research. ACs interfere with mic quality, so I turned it off. But I turned it off at the last moment, so my room can stay cool during the session.
Of course.
Very thoughtful of you. Thank you very much, Travis. And don't forget to move your camera up so we can get your face this time.
My gosh, this is
Yeah.
hard to do.
I mean, your voice came in great, and and you do have an awesome neck, but
Yeah, I know.
Oh, speaking of which, the top of your head, right, looks fantastic in your videos.
It's
and welcome
fantastic.
Dave and Wendy. Welcome back. Welcome back.
Hello.
That's
Hello,
pretty
guys. How you guys
ridiculous.
doing?
You got the neck for
Oh,
the throat and the crown for the crown chakra, right?
yeah. And of course, Wendy and Dave, we're doing much better now that you're here to answer your question.
All right,
Yes,
so I can
yeah,
hit
well, like
record anytime, basically.
I've been recording
Well,
just so I
okay.
would have more to edit out
Yeah.
if I ever decide to edit it out.
Oh,
I don't know.
Christ.
Yeah, I don't know that we're ever going to have a bloopers roll, but
It's okay. There's a technical moment here Tom
yeah.
is having. So
You
Well,
know what?
yeah, the bloopers are our best part. I mean, that's where we leave that stuff in.
You know what really surprises me is that these apps that are designed for recording, like they love to throw in these like pop-up screens, like, and it's over there, you know what I mean? And I'm like, it's like,
Oh,
you know what I mean? It's just like, don't try to like get a yes out of me or a no, you know what I mean?
mhm.
All right. Well, so I have no idea at all what's going to
Oh,
come.
cool.
I haven't even edited last month's video, so uh, I've lost the continuity. There was one. I know there was a continuity before in the sessions.
it's all about the now moment, the infinite
That's
now moment.
true. On
And we've
another
had,
level, it's all connected anyway.
and we've had lots of new beings which have come in my experience, and maybe others, which is freaking wild.
New beings as in new entities.
Yeah, yeah, they've been piggybacking on my conversations with the hybrid children and the beings of light, and everybody's just letting the Pleiadians actually allowed them in. And they have nowhere to go because it's not their time to be physicalized in that way, we will
Yeah.
say. So the Pleiadians called them the peanut gallery.
Yeah.
So
Bashar gets plenty of
yeah.
that.
So right now they're just hanging back and they're picking out their favorite players, and they're sending them energy and other things as well while they're waiting, which is really cool if you're one of their favorite players.
I think that you can think of the peanut gallery as you express in
Mhm.
terms of trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions. The peanuts that are crunching are very many.
Oh, and we do welcome back Tom Leichardt, who is a long time channeler for us in our short history of high vibe channeling. But he brings forth his higher self, Illi, who always has such great answers and stuff like that. And we will hear some more of that in just a minute. Anything else you would like to add, Mr. Tom?
Well, not really. Let's just get into the field and see what happens. Good day to you. We welcome you to the realms of light, where the vast majorities of who you are also exists. We welcome you to these realms of light from where your physical lives, your physical personalities, and your entire physical worlds also spring. We will, on this night of your time, speak of the many folded dimensions that exist within the present moment. Because as physical creatures, you are tuned to a specific frequency, very much like tuning into a radio station. So you get a very specific stream. And on this radio station, you perceive time and space in your unique ways with your particular local rules, shall we say? Gravity, time, space, all the trappings of your familiar reality. However, adjacent to this particular frequency of physical reality are many other realities. Now, many of you are very familiar with the astral planes, as you call them, spiritual planes, and so on. There are other levels of consciousness even within the earth itself, be it the mineral realm, shall we say, the plant realm, the animal realm, the nature spirit realm. Folded within your planet are many, many dimensions, some of which you have heard and retained legends, others of which you have not retained memory, as you call it to be. But you are in a time where you're not only seeing the stratification of energy from physical to mental to emotional to spiritual and so on, astral plane, spiritual plane. But you are also on the verge of discovering that there are dimensions folded within time and space as you perceive it to be. And this is most challenging to describe in your language, which is based upon the assumptions of your world. Thusly, distortions are bound to occur. However, this isn't about getting it perfectly translated, but rather to leave you a kind of breadcrumb or a pointer or a kind of map, if you will, to other layers of consciousness that don't really have much to do with the strata of consciousness that you're familiar with. This isn't about simply shifting to the astral plane by raising a frequency, but rather, let's think of it in this way. You have the vertical line, which represents your stratified perception of existence. But then let's say you have a horizontal line. And this would be like your radio station tuner. For those of you that still remember when you used to tune the dial, now you press a button. But the visual analogy applies that you have also these frequency bands going sideways. Now, this isn't simply going sideways in time, as you are familiar with now with parallel realities. This is a kind of folded. So let us say you have, out of each snapshot of your physical life, a kind of mosaic pattern. And within each mosaic, within each square or unit of consciousness within your physical world, folded within that are many, many other dimensions, some of which you might recognize, some of which you would completely not recognize, some of which would be completely alien to you. Now, when you go into your dream states, you explore not only these horizontal and vertical stratas of consciousness, parallel lives, as well as other dimensions of frequency, but you also drop into these folded in dimensions. And we are simply dropping a kind of breadcrumb, as we said, to get you to start thinking of things not just in terms of frequency and raising your frequency or lowering your frequency, but rather more multidimensionally even than that. So each square within your physical field, within any snapshot of physical reality, when pressed in a certain way, would unfold a certain kind of dimensional experience. So thusly, everything is contained in each present moment that you experience. Now, some of you experience this by surrounding yourself with certain objects that resonate with other existences. However, this is still speaking in terms of your parallel lives as you understand them to be, or your other lives, your past and future lives, as you might say. You might have a certain painting from a certain time period or of a certain place, and lo and behold, you also have a simultaneous parallel life in that existence, which the picture represents. Now you have many objects in your physical world that connect thusly through this kind of associative pattern. Most of you are very used to a linear pattern of thought and progression, logical thought, and thought expansion in a linear way. However, this is much more multidimensional than that. And it is through the associative property. Thusly, there is an association, a kind of resonance between many of your lives simultaneously. And in each life, you will have objects from each of those other lives in varying degrees of relevancy. And so you can explore through those objects your connections to these other parallel lives, what be it future, past, or parallel within your own time period, shall we say. So you can continue to expand your explorations thusly. But when we speak of these folded within dimensions, some of your Hollywood productions, your movie productions have touched into this, your storytelling, whereby a character experiences a shift to another existence, playing out an entire lifetime's worth of experience, and then coming back into their physical frame, and only a minute has passed, or 5 minutes of clock time. And yet within that period of clock time, an entire lifetime was experienced by the character. Now, many of you have the possibility and probability of slipping into these kinds of experiences. This will happen in your dream times at first, and sometimes in your more meditative states, and it will begin to pop into your physical waking consciousness as well, because your dreaming and your waking consciousness are merging into one. So you might find yourself slipping into a kind of trance state, shall we say, where you experience a whole nother lifetime or perhaps another dimension, and you seemingly acquire the experience of a lifetime, only to come back and realize that very little clock time in your current life has elapsed. So within each moment, there are many, many folded in dimensions, and we are doing our best to translate this into your terms. And again, we realize that this translation will have inherent distortions, and yet it is our excitement to share with you this unique aspect of your expanding consciousness, because as you say in your world, you have to begin somewhere. So distorted as this translation may be, it will be a good beginning point. It will point you in new directions. It will open up new vistas to you. Now, let us give you a very prosaic example of this, because many times you attempt to recreate within your physical sphere these kinds of experiences that are multidimensional. Thusly, you have, as we often like to use, the movie analogy or the video game analogy, whereby you might sit down for 2 hours of your clock time to experience a certain kind of character arc, the hero's journey in one permutation or another, and you identify with the character, and you experience a seeming lifetime of that character within the movie. And then after 2 hours or so, the movie concludes, you have a resolution, and you jump back into your own life. So you see, you are technologically recreating this in a kind of easily to digest prosaic way. Likewise, in your video game industry, you have people that jump into these digital realities and experience a kind of character adventure, a character arc. They complete the game or complete the puzzle, and then they jump back into their regular life. And you see, it is this kind of extra dimensional experience to which these prosaic experiences point. Now, these will continue to expand as your technology expands. You have your virtual realities and your movie experiences. These will continue to expand in their scope and their ability to teleport you or transport you into these experiences. Nevertheless, this is but a reflection of a state of consciousness that is developing within you, whereby you will be able to drop into these folded in dimensions, gather a lifetime's worth of data and experience, and bring that back to your physical life and be fully and wholly enriched by it. And yet very little clock time has elapsed. Thusly, the expansion of consciousness will be truly exhilarating, truly profound. You will find your lives enriched in immense, innumerable ways, because you begin to have access to these portals, to these folded in dimensions where you gather lifetimes and lifetimes of experience, which are very much parallel to or relevant to the theme that you are exploring in this life. So this is just another way of thinking about parallel lives, simultaneous existence, and that everything is here and now. Consider that each moment is rich, and you are experiencing a tapestry of consciousness, and you are focusing upon but one pattern within it, and you can focus on other patterns within the very physical life that you're experiencing now. And through that, you will have access to much knowledge and information, expansion of consciousness, not only physical realities, but multidimensional realities, extraterrestrial realities, and extra-dimensional realities, all at your fingertips. It will be like having a World Wide Web or a galaxy or universal wide web of interconnectedness. And you click here and you click there and you tunnel into these parallel realities and not only get glimpses of them, but get the full experience of them, downloadable instantly, and yet experienced as if you had the entire experience played out in whatever method is germane to that dimension. Now, we very much wish to stretch you in your abilities. Thusly, we are attempting to deliver material that not only stretches the channel and his ability to translate, but also to the audience, that you might reach a little bit beyond the somewhat standardized New Age viewpoints and categorizations of consciousness expansion. Now, there are other threads that have woven in and out that were probable, that are not being delivered. Thusly, this topic can very much continue and be expanded upon, but we can only squeeze so much information into this linear language format, even while we perceive that there are many relevant strands that could be delivered. Thusly, this transmission has many probable variations, and we may attempt to capture that by delivering a series of transmission on this very topic from different viewpoints or different angles, as it were, looking at the same phenomena from a slightly different angle, very much like turning a crystal in your hand and looking at a different facet of the same thing and experiencing it in a new way, a different way. Thusly, for now, we will pause and ask if there are any questions that you wish to explore.
Christina?
Thank you. Greetings. Yes, there are quite a few questions. First of all, I was telling Thomas that I love the Scottish accent, and we were wondering how come he has this beautiful Scottish accent when he's channeling, when he's not in this physical current life from Scotland?
Very good. It serves a purpose in multiple ways. One is a simple, prosaic explanation that it helps to have a kind of differentiation between the channeled voice from the so-called regular physical voice, to delineate a shift of consciousness, a different kind of presence and awareness that is being accessed at the time. Now, that being said, there are relevancies to other lives that are being simultaneously experienced by the Oversoul, some of which are from those parts of your world. Let's say it is like drawing from the database of experience within the great vault of the Oversoul and tapping into one that is relevant for the current theme of exploration. Thusly, it is also a mystery for the channel himself to explore, for he has not yet discovered some of those relevant links, other than simply recognizing it as a different voice. It certainly does have connection to that part of the world. All of it, England, Ireland, Scotland, those general areas. And it will remain a mystery because it is for him to pull on that strand of consciousness with curiosity. So we appreciate your question to even bring that to his awareness as a point of curiosity to explore, for there is some information for him to discover. So we appreciate the synchronicity.
I appreciate your answer. We were suspecting this might be related to some parallel lives of his, and I'm very happy for that because, like I said, it's my favorite accent on the planet. But anyway, what you also said about objects was very interesting because I have been observing myself, and I haven't just surrounded myself with a few, but with many, 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 many objects that resonate with me, and I feel that I need all of them to be with me in this incarnation. Would you have any insights to why I'm gathering so many different types of objects that I need in my space in order to help me cope with this incarnation?
Can you give us very briefly 3 objects to which you refer?
One would be purple things in general. Another one would be photos of trees. And another one would be Greek, like statues or references, and lizards, and dragons, and sparkly things.
Sparkling things, very good. Now, all objects are symbols, of course. Thusly, it is not uncommon that when a person in your world wishes to explore their psychic intuition, they use things like a tarot deck or the I Ching or something similar that is a kind of symbolic language, because all symbols carry much information. You have a saying in your world, a picture is worth 1,000 words. Now, you could simply work with the symbols themselves. However, it wouldn't be quite as practical. Thusly, the tarot deck has been created, which collapses them into those cards. However, many of you realize that as you wish to collect objects, they too represent a kind of symbolic gateway into different states of consciousness. And as such, they can serve as permission slips. And of course, like the tarot deck, which eventually can be done away with as you learn the symbolic language of the cards and even beyond, so too can you come to a place where you begin to let go of many of these objects because you will have embodied the symbolic power. Or to put it more accurately, you will have allowed the objects to reveal the symbolic power that you have already within yourself. Thusly, we are not suggesting that one state is better than another. If you feel drawn to certain objects, by all means, continue to collect them. But realize that they do represent aspects of power that are within you. Now, when you see the object in your external world, you feel drawn to it, and that is already an indication that that power you are also recognizing within yourself. And you're wishing to create thusly a reflective relationship to help to remind you of that power. So you can use it as such. Now, trees are a very powerful symbol in many spiritual realities, in many spiritual circles. Thusly, simply exploring the symbology of the tree can take you down many strands of consciousness. We will highlight but one of the many. The tree can act like an antenna, connecting to heaven, connecting to spirit. At the same time, it can remain firmly rooted in the ground. This is very much like the paradox within your world that if you wish to expand into the stars, into the heavens, you very much must be grounded in your physical earth. Thusly, the tree can remind you to not only expand skywards, but to send your roots deep, deep into the earth, to be firmly rooted in this reality so that you can experience the multi-dimensions without getting tossed around willy-nilly or lost in the stars, as it were. You have a home station that you can always return to, no matter how exotic or expansive your journeys are. For you are magnificently expansive beings. Having an anchor point is a good idea. Thusly, let the tree remind you of that. Now, purple can very easily be summarized as a kind of higher frequency, a connection to the heavens, to the velvet sky, as it were, to your crown chakra, if you wish, as well as the Greek statues can give you a kind of anchoring also to the ancient civilizations, to the mysteries of the earth, to the mysteries that the ancients once understood that you can tap into, because all this knowledge, again, is all within yourself. Lastly, remembering that the earth too has many secrets, and that many of these civilizations have walked these paths and unlocked these doorways. You can find through that great mystery your own keys to your own doorways to expand into that. And of course, you mentioned dragons, a very powerful symbol, ancient knowledge and power. Thusly, this connects to the ancient civilizations. For many of your ancient civilizations recognize the dragon or different facets of the dragon, which looks completely different in its extra-dimensional nature, but you interpret that energy, frequency, that being, or that energy in your unique way as the dragon. It is an ancient power that is also residing within you. So this is but a brief foray into symbology and helping you to understand the power of the symbols, and that the power ultimately does reside within you. But by all means, if you love symbols and you love collecting them, by all means, continue to do so. And yet, when you feel intuitively that it is time to let them go, also be perceptive of that as well. You don't have to force anything, but there will come a time when perhaps you will begin exchanging symbols or letting go of symbols or powering down. And that is fine too. It is all good. So we hope that helps.
Yes, thank you very much.
And welcome again, Illi. We are always grateful that you grace us with your presence. Thank you. I have a personal question about the entities which just kind of popped in while I was channeling. The Pleiadians referred to them as as an analogous to a peanut gallery because their time had not come yet. Can you enlighten me any details on them at all, please?
Can you elaborate on your experience?
Yes, I was in a seminar and a meditation, and it was a heart-centered meditation. And as I was doing it, my vibration raised up, and another group that I channel, the future Pleiadians, let other forms of consciousness come in. including the hybrid children. But those other forms of consciousness were extremely funny. They were having lots of conversations in my head, like at those folded times that you talked about, which 30 sentences went back and forth in the matter of a couple of seconds. And I was just laughing. I had to get out of the seminar because it was so funny. And they any information about them, I already have some information, but they've really piqued my interest, and apparently they're not going anywhere because they're have a future with humanity, it seems, of some sort. Thank you. Does that help? That helps.
Very good. So you are, of course, connecting to the hybrid children, who themselves have an incredibly wonderful sense of humor. Now, your hybrids, the children specifically, they have an immense love for Earth, and thusly are very connected to the elemental realm, which is also known for being quite playful. Now, there is much to the elemental realm you have yet to discover. You are just barely remembering scraps of legends, interpretations, and misinterpretations. So there is much there to explore. Now, the children themselves are at a frequency that is slightly less physical than you. That is the best way we can describe it. And so they are, of course, less dense. They have a kind of malleable plastic nature to them. They are much more fluid and flexible than you are used to being in your physical time-space matrix. Now, as such, they also connect to beings of a similar vibration that are also very, very playful, interdimensional beings, very childlike. And they are also, it is almost as if there are versions of them that are non-physical or quasi-physical. That is challenging to describe. But you are tapping into this kind of whole series of energies. Some of it interlinking with your elemental realm, some of it simply the children themselves, as you will know them to be. And then other dimensional energies, which are very childlike in nature, that are very much in a harmonic resonance with the energy frequency of the children. And then even versions of the children that are less physical, more akin to like spirit versions of themselves, interweaving and interplaying. So there is a kind of a matrix of energy, a swirling matrix of interconnected moving parts. For just a prosaic analogy, we would have you visualize fireflies flying around. However, rather than the seemingly random pattern, which is not random, but it appears that way to you, imagine almost like a toroidal pattern, a playful pattern of spinning, interweaving, and interconnected points of light, which are simply having a ball and having a time of it, and appreciating your openness to play with them in this way. So they will stretch you, and more information will be given as you develop, if you choose to develop this relationship with them. It will indeed expand. So that is all we can say for now. Or it is not necessarily for us to deliver this particular information for you at this time, but more information will be given by others.
And I really appreciate that. That is absolutely wonderful. Yeah, because to me, they're like in the old Muppet Show, they're the two gentlemen who are up in the balcony making all of the smart comments. So thank you very much for that. And I will leave this to Arla to unmute and ask her questions. Thank you very much.
Okay. Yay. I just want to say thank you, Illi, so much for speaking about what some are calling parallel dimensions. It seems to me that as the Earth Mother's vibrational energy or consciousness, if you want to call it that, is rising, that these dimensions, our other lives, or however anyone wants to address that, seem to be opening more and presenting themselves. I know for me, over the last few months, it's escalated where during the day I connect with one of those and I see myself, knowing it's myself, whether I look like how I look at this time or something else. But I know immediately that it is me, along with this me in this dimension. Could you talk some about that? How this seems to be happening more and more and more.
Very good. There isn't a whole lot to add to what we have delivered. However, it is you who are raising your frequency. You're choosing to expand your awareness in a way that allows you to perceive multiple streams simultaneously. And again, paradoxes, or shall we say, analogies, break down because of inherent paradoxes within your physical perceptive mechanism. Thusly, here is a analogy you can play with. You have one photo, and it is one kind of exposure. Now you can have a photo with a double exposure, and now you have two realities overlaid on top of one another. And then a third exposure, a fourth exposure, a quadruple exposure, and so on. Thusly, in each moment, you have been used to living as experiencing one exposure, one frame at a time. Now you are developing a kind of consciousness whereby you can keep the time stream coherent within your accepted reality. Meanwhile, allowing yourself to overlay other time streams onto that time stream, if that even makes sense. Now, some of these are multi-dimensional, thusly you won't necessarily have a linear time stream. However, you are developing that ability that you can perceive many layers. First, it'll be 2 layers, then you'll discover you can do 3 layers, and you start to have this kind of overlay of film strips, shall we say. And perhaps the old film strip could be an easier analogy because you know that when you hold it up to the light, you see what is in each frame. And then you also will have the ability not only to have the experience of your life, the primary film strip, shall we say, but secondary, tertiary film strips can be laid on top or crisscross through, and without causing you to lose the coherence of the primary timeline or film strip. So that is an analogy you can play with. Now, the Earth, from your perception, is raising in frequency, and yet from another angle, you could say that you are shifting through a series of frames to those versions of Earth that are reflective of the vibration that you are choosing to embody. Thusly, all these portals have always been here, but you have a famous saying in your world, hidden in plain sight, or otherwise, those who have eyes, let them see. And you are, and we appreciate you very much for this, one of the pioneers of expanding this kind of awareness and making it more commonplace and quote-unquote normal within your physical time frame. Thusly, we do encourage that you continue to share your stories, put your stories out there, because others that will come across them will be encouraged to validate their experiences that resonate with the experiences you have had. So you are, in a way, a trailblazer. We are sure you know this, however, sometimes it bears affirmation and validation. Thusly, again, we very, very much appreciate the portals that you leave for others to walk through. And we hope that makes sense.
It does. It does. Thank you so much. It is just so normal to me that I don't look at it as something that's odd or anything else. It's just, it's normal. And I just so thank you for your precious words. That means a lot to me. And thank you for all that you do and bring as well. You and Tom, which
And
are the same, but I wanted to make sure I got Tom's name in there too. Thank you.
Hi, Illi. Welcome. It's wonderful to be here with you.
And
Illi,
well, come back.
thank you. So my question is a little more practical or pragmatic. So could you give us an example of how we could use this multidimensionality to assist us in this physical reality we're in? Some kind of example, possibly. I find myself in these other dimensional realities a lot, multiple times in a day. These not necessarily the folded dimensions that you talked about, but other dimensions that are quite real for me. But I'm just wondering, as we're learning to navigate these other dimensions, it's like when computers came out and they came out with a killer app that really helped people. Is there some example you can give of how we could use this multidimensionality to for the betterment in our physical life?
Very good. We would begin by suggesting that you don't try to create these experiences or chase them or somehow go after them, for they are not something to acquire as you are used to in your culture. However, simply let them unfold as a course, as a part and parcel of you grounding and physicalizing your passion into physicalized actions. Now, as you do raise your frequency by acting on your passion, you will raise your frequency whereby these experiences will become increasingly more common. And sometimes they are simply there to enrich your life. There was some time ago, an episode of Star Trek that embodied this. There was a show where your Captain Picard met with a certain kind of entity in deep space, whereby he seemed to be possessed and knocked unconscious. And the crew was, of course, concerned and trying to figure out what to do. However, meanwhile, Captain Picard experienced a life in a certain civilization. Now, in that life, he had a daughter. And his life was very, very much enriched by this very simple but very loving relationship of raising this child. And he experienced the whole lifetime of this. And while the crew was trying to extricate from this or wake him up, as it were, eventually the entity let Captain Picard go. And he came to, and a few moments had passed. And yet he experienced a lifetime of being a father. Now, as captain, he had never wanted to have children, never even considered that. And yet he made a statement that he never wanted children, but after having that experience, he couldn't possibly imagine living without them. So his life was enriched. Now, does that have a practical application? Yes and no. Of course, everything, all experience is highly, highly practical. However, it can't always be measured in your quantifiable ways that you tend to measure experience in your physical reality. It is a kind of enrichment. Now, you have a famous saying in your world that it is better to have loved and lost than to never have loved at all. And it is this quality of experience that can greatly enrich your life. And when you start opening up to these extra dimensional experiences, be they other physical existences or extra dimensional experiences, they will greatly enrich your life. And it is not easy to quantify just exactly how they will enrich your life, but they will. You will have a kind of depth perception. It is almost as if you're looking at a two-dimensional image, and then it begins to expand into a three-dimensional field. It is a kind of dimensional expansion. However, you are expanding in a way most difficult to describe. So some of these experiences will very much simply be there for the enrichment of your current life. Now, others will be quite a bit more practical, for you might enter into a folded-in dimension and acquire a certain kind of skill, or perhaps remember the acquisition of a certain kind of skill that you will then bring back to your physical life. And lo and behold, something that was previously an immense challenge to you will come. You'll have a kind of knack for it. You will have discovered that you have a propensity for it that you did not have before or didn't realize you had, because it was so buried within your state of amnesia, as is common in physical life. So there can be practical applications, skill acquisition, language acquisition, or understanding certain cultures, or perhaps understanding certain ancient civilizations. Or it can be not quite so quantifiable, in which it will greatly enrich your emotional experience, expand your viewpoint beyond your static 3D world, so that you can understand your fellow human beings and simply have a greater appreciation of the multidimensional nature of who you are. So we hope that helps.
Yes, it certainly does. It rings some bells for me, actually. I've had a experience with my space brothers and sisters stepping to my reality to um, send energy into my body. And yeah, and also this morning when we were in our spiritual practices, they're always there with us in our practices, but this morning they came down and they were actually in the room with us, and that felt wonderful, especially after the night before I'd had the experience where energy came out of their hands and into my body. So, well, thank you very much, Illi and Tom. Much appreciated.
Very good. These are exactly those kind of double exposures of which we have been speaking, where you have your primary storyline and overlaid on top of it is a double exposure, where some beings enter your life and you have simultaneous awareness of them. And of course, healing is very much a potential when you experience these kind of dimensional expansions. Healing of a physical nature, emotional nature, mental nature, connected to spirit nature, and so on. Healing of nature, healing of yourself as nature. For as you heal yourself, then nature reflects that healing back to you. So there are many, many practical applications, shall we say, and thank you for your sharing.
Thank you again, Illi and Tom.
Travis?
Okay, just trying to get unmuted. Yeah, this is Okay, I don't think this is my first time speaking on here, but but as I bring up some of my experiences as people have as I have mentioned. There was one with a female being walking into my room with long light brown hair, although I was awake and asleep at the same time, so it was like an altered state. So I could see her walking into my room, and I couldn't move. But I remember laying in my bed when she walked into my room. She sat on my bed, put her hand on my chest, and a song played in my head, and that's about what I remember from that experience. I also had experiences with Sassani, which actually were full-on dream, but I can remember them, so they were kind of interesting. Although also have experiences with female. So that one felt like I was on a spaceship for some reason. But so and I'm also channeling these beings vocally, which technically there's the one called Akatha, who's a Pleiadian being, although she has referred to herself now as a Taigetan for obvious reasons or something, because she mentioned she's from the star Taigeta, so that's why. I also channel Sassani named Zol. I just wanted to clarify. Oh yeah, Tasha. Just wanted to clarify. Clarify what these beings have to, what they have to do with my experience in general, because sometimes I do get confused, even though I understand in different ways.
Very good. We would encourage you to take all wisdom imparted from these beings, directly and indirectly by simply being in their presence. Take that energy and ground it into your physical life. Allow it to be translated, and this might have different degrees of challenge. And of course, you all signed up for challenge. That's the point of physical reality. And part of the challenge of physical reality is, how do you translate your soul's energy into physical terms, into physical action in your physical world? Thusly, we encourage you to focus on that grounding point of taking that extra-dimensional, extraterrestrial energy, running it through your physical body and translating it into action, letting it expand, whether it's simple actions or whether it's projects or whatnot. You don't have to stress it in any particular way, but we encourage you to look for avenues of expression of these energies through your physical frame, and this will help you to ground all this energy and bring it into a kind of physicalized coherence or incoherence with your physical structure. And that will help you very much to expand further into your channeling. However, it is very, very important that you ground these energies, because like electricity, it requires a kind of grounding. And part of that can be accomplished by spending time with nature, spending time with trees. Again, the tree being a very powerful symbol of expanding to the heavens and yet expanding into the ground. Thusly, that is our suggestion. Let these energies be translated into physicalized worldly action. Let flow even into simple things like chopping wood, carrying water, letting it expand into following any impulses you might have to do something perhaps out of the ordinary or out of your habituated ways. Continue to take it step by step. Let yourself expand into any projects that might materialize as you start acting and grounding these energies through your physical frame. And then it'll make a lot more sense because it'll integrate with your physical day-to-day. These must be brought into coherence. Now, this can be fed for all of you who are trans-dimensional, multi-dimensional antennas, which are all of you. Ground it into the physical world. Create something, whether it's art, whether it's something practical. Let it flow through you. Channel that energy into physicalized action, into physicalized structure, and you will bring great coherence. And then more will be given because you'll have built up a sufficient ground to increase the current, to increase the rate of transmission through you. But you must ground the energies. That is our suggestion.
And that's very wonderful. Thank you. I am already working on a project where the information that I'm bringing through, my friend is taking notes when I channel for him, so he can. So because we're working. My friend's also a channeler. We're working on a codex thing. So we're gathering information about different beings, and because I'm a multi-faceted channeler, so I wanted to gather information so I can bring it into the reality as an informational bank.
Very good. Keep acting and grounding that, and it'll lead to more experience and more insights. Let it also flow into your prosaic life as well. That is our
Thank you. Thank you. Avail.
Avail.
Yeah, have time for one more, kindly.
Sure.
I just want a little bit of clarification to make sure I'm understanding the integration of humanity into spacefaring races as well as the other beings into human existence. It is, in my experience, it's all a matter of vibration. And to make this process a little bit flow easier, we will say, the beings who are closer in vibration to humanity and who look more like humanity are going to be in the initial phases, and then those beings who vibrate even higher and look less like humans will be phased in, and the more time it takes, by then all beings will just be accepted. And that is the first part. Would you like to mention or comment on that first before I get to the second part?
Let's hear the second part.
Well, I'm curious about the beings who are waiting. If it was like humanity's on an elevator and we're going up a little bit and we're getting to let other beings come in as we get to higher floors. And I'm just curious about some of the beings that are waiting on the other floors that we haven't gotten to yet, like the ones who came in with me. If you can enlighten us on any of those who will have a role but don't have one now, please.
Leslie, you are asking us to extrapolate or expand upon beings you are not familiar with, other than, of course, the ones you are already familiar with. You wish to know about the beings that will come after, shall we say?
You know, either one is going to be helpful. So, and I'm not shy about saying, well, both would be even better, but thank you.
Very good. Not too much in the stream here. However, we will suggest that while many of you are looking to the stars in a fairly physical way, much of the expansion will take place into expanding into multidimensional fields of awareness. Now, many of you have grown up with your Star Wars and your Star Treks and your sci-fi. Thus, the idea of exploring other planets, other worlds, has become a kind of accepted norm of your civilization. The idea of getting in a starship and warping to another star system, exploring other planets. These are all things you can grok, as you say. However, a little less grokkable to you at this time is the idea of exploring multi-dimensions, multi-dimensional consciousness. Now, many of you have cultural icons, shall we say, archetypes. These will be greatly enhanced and expanded, and much cultural residue will begin to melt away as you begin to perceive these forms a little bit more directly, a little bit more clearly. As yet, they are now very much shrouded in cultural iconography and cultural symbolism, and that is all well and good, but the symbolism will begin to dissolve, or you will begin to understand the meaning behind the symbolism. Thusly, the symbolism will no longer need apply, and you'll be able to perceive these energies a little bit more directly. You will also come to understand, speaking of these folded in dimensions, the nature of travel in new ways. Now, again, you are used to the concept of getting either on foot or on horse or in your cars or now in your airplanes. Now you will extrapolate that into your starships, the idea of traveling distance in a linear way. Now, while you will still have that ability, you will expand your capacity to travel in highly unique and unusual ways. Now, some of your science fiction has explored this, the idea of portals and stargates and so on, wormholes. You will discover travel to be completely transformed when you begin to discover that everything is here and now. Because when everything is here and now, well, what about travel? You see, it will completely transform. Your ability to travel even physical distances will change, as well as traveling to non-physical places. And thus you will encounter beings that don't conform to your time-space reality as you begin to explore these worlds. So your explorations will not simply be starships traveling from A to B, although it will include some of that, but that is but barely scratching the surface. You'll begin to explore the extra-dimensional nature of beings, some of which have physical forms, some of which do not have physical forms. You will come to understand, for example, the stars themselves at other levels of consciousness are conscious beings, which you can meet and interact with. Thusly, your physicalized universe will begin to take on a completely different dimensional depth, shall we say. And while all your physical objects have has a spiritual counterpart, not all spiritual aspects have a physicalized counterpart. Thusly, you will meet a whole gamut of beings at different levels of density and crystallization and non-crystallization into form. Now, we are not here to spill the beans, as you say, or let any cats out of the bags. This will be a gradual process, and it will build step upon a step, as you said, like going up in an elevator from floor to floor. As you acclimate to one floor, you will gain access, as it were, to travel to yet another floor and another floor. Now, of course, it will happen not necessarily in a perfect linear progression, for you will have glimpses of all the floors at different points in varying degrees, and of course translated into terms that you can understand from the floor that you are standing on. So that is just a brief touch into all of that. Your connection to spirit will very, very much increase. Spirits of ancestors, spirits of your future ancestors, spirits of the so-called deceased, that will expand as well. And you will come to know that each being that you meet physically also has a spiritual being counterpart with which you can engage. Even as with some of the children that you engage with, you are engaging also with their spirit being selves. And thusly you will be able to connect to the spirit versions of individuals that you meet physically and come to understand through that interaction the multidimensional depth of the interaction that you're having in that present moment. So these are but some glimpses, if you will, and we hope that helps.
That was very profound and a very detailed and many layered response, as we expect. And thank you so much, Illi. I don't believe we have any other questions, but I can't wait to get to that one on the video replay, and I'm not alone. Do you have any parting words for us, or maybe for Mr. Tom?
Very good. First of all, we very much appreciate this forum that you hold space in such a way for these multidimensional and intergalactic transmissions to take place. Very, very much appreciated. You create a kind of space into which many entities and beings can peek into your world and even communicate with your world. You do that on an individual level, and then you do it also as you hold space for other individuals within your physical field to open those gateways and those doorways and those portals. And for that, your service is very much appreciated. Now, to each and every one of you that are listening, we encourage you to make like a tree and grow your roots deep into the earth, become very grounded in your physicalized, crystallized life, and at the same time, reach for the stars, as it were, and translate this extra dimensional energy and physicalize it into the stuff of earth. For in doing so, not only do you ground the energy through your physical frame, but you make it available for others, and you imbue physical life with a kind of grand mystery, which has, up to this point, been largely lost in the amnesia, as is the experience of humanity. But as the amnesia lifts, you are playing a critical part in the lifting of that amnesia. Thus, activate these energies and act them, ground them in your world. And with that, we will send our loving and blessings, whatever our blessings are ours to give, we give wholeheartedly. And with that, then, we will wish each and every one of you a gloriously beautiful and a fond good day.
How wonderful, Tom. Oh my gosh, you really outdid yourself tonight. Holy shit stains. That was fabulous.
Well, thank you. I was kind of like teetering on the edge of like, oh, what the hell? Why do I even do this? And like, you know what I mean? It's just kind of one of those days like, oh man, I got to set up the whole studio. I don't know if I'll make it in time. And it's just like, oh, so, but then like once the energies got rolling, I'm just like, oh my God, this is like so great to be in this frequency, you know?
Yeah, well, and is it your experience? I know I've talked with this about with Arla too, about when we don't feel our best, like we might have a head cold or something like that, we have less resistance because we're low on energy anyway. So those tend to be the best channeling sessions.
I agree. Healing sessions as well. Sometimes when I'm just like not really together, it's sort of like I just have to surrender and just let it happen, let it flow through me because I'm like, I ain't got enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Physically to, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that explains it. I think one time I came here when I was sick, and then I channeled, and
Yeah.
then for some reason when I was channeling, I was not sick.
Yep.
For that moment of channeling, I was not sick.
Nope, just for the Earth experience. That's all.
Yeah.
You were saving the good stuff for us, Travis. Thanks for taking it for the team.
You're welcome.
Anybody else have any questions for Tom? Jennifer, I know you're new here, and hopefully we can have you share something later, but I'm really fond about putting people on the spot. So just ignore me if that pleases you. Look at all the people nodding. Yeah,
I
that's
don't really have any questions, but thank you for bringing those messages through. I definitely needed to hear a lot of them.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's just really lovely when there's an audience because it feels like there's a circuit grounding. Whereas, you know, I went through a period of channeling for myself daily, and lately that's kind of dried up. And all of a sudden, with all y'all here, it's just like all of a sudden it's like, boom, okay, it's like, here it comes, you know?
You have a history of that with us, I think.
No, this group, it's really, I mean, you're doing a wonderful service because I know what it does for me to have the forum. And so that means each and every channeler has their own unique expansion within that.
That's the name of our game, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Chuck, we hear you talking, but we don't have anything. Nothing's coming out on our end. More
It'll probably
liberating.
help that situation.
Hey!
All you got to do is flip your mic on.
It usually helps, I discovered.
Yeah, right. I can't tell you. You know, my camera will pick it up too, but it like sounds like it's in the distance. And so I've done that before. I've done sessions like Lucy and me, and I'll do a whole session, you know, where I forget to turn this one on and it's that one. And I'm going, why does it sound a little muted? And then I don't realize till after the fact that I forgot to turn the main mic on. You know? But anyway, to reiterate, Tom, so it sounds like then you need to be watering your experience a little bit more. If channeling for yourself is dried up, gotta spread those roots, man.
It goes in phases for me. Or like I'll have a kind of a high period and then it just seems like the tide kind of flows out. And then it's just like, okay, well, just focus on just regular, you know, physical life, right? Chop wood, carry water stuff. But it has a way of kind of percolating, you know, you mentioned water, like, you know, like the plant kind of bursts through again and it's like, oh, there it is, breaking ground.
Now, I know that Heidi and Wendy do that. They just so all of a sudden a being will just talk to them and say, no, we need to do something now, or you know, hey, no, we need to work on this right away. And Arla too, I could see her, but does that happen? I mean, it happens to me. Somebody just says, hey, I want to talk, or they want to talk to this group or whatever, and I'm just like, I'm just a foot soldier, you know, just tell me what you want me to do. Does that happen to you as well, Tom?
Not so much. I mean, I'll get insights like, you know, focus on this, do this, you know, move in this direction, like, you know, all of us do, but I don't get like a being tapping me on the shoulder saying, no, oh, you gotta hit the record button, like, come on, let's do it. Like, I don't get that so much. Um, it's more like this inner calling of like, hey, let's do this, let's move in this direction, right? It's more, yeah, it's not so direct, shall we say.
Yeah, I've had more than one just say, I'd like to record a message, or they just give them to me, and sometimes they just tell me to write them down.
Mm-hmm.
You know, video's not necessary. Okay, whatever you say. So, you know, I was just curious.
I
It
was
sounds
going
like it,
to,
Is
actually.
that your experience too, Chuck? I'm sorry, Luis.
Mine. Go ahead. You go first, Luis.
well, I was going to suggest to Tom that when he feels dry, he can decide to have a little session as soon as, you know, he's open to it, and you can post it in the chat, and I'm sure that there'll be 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe even more people that will show up for it. And you can get out of dryness into wetness again and enhance the experience for all of us.
Yeah, I kind of get this more like just breath in, breath out, and just kind of let it, you know, ride the wave when it's there, but also just it's okay to just hang out in the surf waiting for the next set to come in. You know what I mean?
I get you, and I think that the dryness was when it finally opened the floodgates, like tonight. Okay, it's very rich. What comes through is very, very rich, and you were very, very profound tonight, and beautiful delivery, absolutely beautiful delivery.
Thank you. Sometimes I feel like it's almost like a volcano, like stuff's building but beneath the surface. So it's like don't hassle it, just like it'll come when it needs to, you know what I mean? And it'll just like burst forth, you know what I mean? But it's not like every day it has to be like bubbling in a visible way, you know what I mean?
Now, generally speaking, for all of us, the reason to have that chat, among other things, is to support each other. And if you find that that's a good place for you to say, I'm going to be doing this, uh, would anybody be interested in joining me? Please do so.
Thank you.
Mr. Ray is saying yes,
Well, I'd just like to say I love it when you bring your volcano to our group, Tom.
Thank you. No, it really it's very validating, and I know it's like we're not supposed to need validation, right? But it is
Nah,
very validating when
that's
you have
BS.
the group
Yeah,
experience.
if we didn't need it, we wouldn't get it, right? So that's a reflection, right? We have that validation already inside of us. We're just I'm using I'm using Illy's mirror trick on you.
No, yeah, I mean, it's like it comes because it's just time for that to come because it's already you're putting out what you put out is what you get back kind of thing.
Yep.
But I realized I've had moments where I'm like kind of more like chasing it and oh, I want some reflection to tell me I'm a good channeler or whatever. Right. And that's when, of course, you don't see it because you're not putting it out, right?
Yep. Chuck, your thoughts, please.
Oh, well, to start with, thanks again, Tom.
Yeah.
Enjoy the energy all the time. And to answer Ray's earlier question, my process is a little bit more like Tom's is actually. I can be, flipping around, doing whatever. Sometimes I'm on social media, sometimes it's life or whatever, and I get these little ideas. Sometimes I'll record them so I can go back because sometimes there's a bunch and I can forget some of them, so I'll record them on my phone. And what it feels like in the background is that the collective is working with a movement, and when they get to a particular place, that's the time to express what I want to express. And so then that happens at that point, and it can be here, it can be with Lucy, it can be a variety of ways. So yeah, so I kind of know in that regard. There are some times where I have a fair idea about what is going to be shared to some degree, and then sometimes where it's like not a lot until my mouth starts going, and then all of a sudden, the download happens, and I'm going, okay, now I know the direction we're going in. But yeah, so.
Something to add to that because I really resonate with what you said, and also just like I'm just remembering that like sometimes it's like it's such a part of me that I forget, right? It's like I'll get a nugget or a strand, and it's kind of like hanging there, and it's like I need to pull on that strand now and like take out my journal or write it down, right? But if I like kind of brush it off and then try to come back to it like a couple hours later, it's like, oh, what was that? Like it's hard to remember because it's like you're not at that frequency anymore. So
Yeah.
it's like you have to kind of pull the strand and translate it into writing or spoken or something
Yeah.
like then and there, right? And then you have the access point. You can go back to that journal entry and be like, oh yeah, and this can expand into even more, right? But you need to crystallize the thread into something, some anchor point. Sometimes I'll literally just write one sentence so I have something to grab a hold of later. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Otherwise, it
Yeah.
can completely disappear.
Absolutely. And I had so many of those happen that I went, okay, I got to start recording these because I know there's some pretty cool stuff that could be shared.
Yeah.
And I'm just letting it go, And the thing is that I don't really even know when that particular thread is meant to be shared.
Mhm.
But what happens a lot of times is that something will happen. I'll go, oh, wait, I think I had something that is matches this energy. And I'll go back in and I'll go and I'll listen to a few and I said, yeah, that's it. And then I'll allow that to expand and to bring in more information. I said, yeah, that kind of feels like the right thing in this moment. And so, yeah, it helps that. It helps to feed all of what was behind that little tiny thread at the right time to share the information that's there. So it's kind of cool like that.
Wow.
It teaches your physical mind to pay attention to those and not brush them off. Because when
Yeah.
you write it down or put it into vocal, it's like it's teaching the mind like, hey, these are important. Let's look out for these. Let's make space for them, and then more comes, right?
And what's cool too is that, so that helps you in even physical life. You learn to pay attention to stuff. Like just a real brief one. So today after work, I was going to go out to this farm and pick blueberries, right? And I was just about to head up my door. And I had this impulse to open up the Facebook page of this farm, because you can go in one or two entrances. Like that's how it led me there. But when I opened it up, it said that they were picked out until Saturday. And so it saved me an hour and a half drive there and back, And so I went, and that's only because I've learned to keep my radar open for all the little things that might show up, And so it's so cool. It works in all directions. It's just really nice.
What a great conversation. What a primer for anybody who wants to learn more about this stuff. Heidi and Wendy, would you like to add your experience to this while we're delving into the people's process and thoughts?
There's some deep wells of experience.
You don't have to.
Heidi's like, maybe. If you beg, get on your knees, Ray.
I just wanted to say I can go on camera. It's just dark in this room. I just wanted to say that yes, thank you for sharing all of that. It's very nice for me to sit and listen to others' experiences. After a decade of doing this, I feel like there's just so much I could share, but things that I've already said a million times, so it's nice to hear that other people have the same or similar experiences, exactly like you said, sometimes where you need to write something down because you know that you're gonna, like you said, you need to grab on that thread later. It's something that all you need to do is look at it and it will expand into the message that needs to come out the way it needs to come out. Most of my videos, probably 99% of my videos, I don't plan. It just happens. And so yes, the spontaneity of it, I also find that there are certain times of the morning that if I let that magical hour pass, it isn't the same. You're absolutely right. I've discovered that myself, that I need to do it in the moment. It's happened even with Dave and I recently where, we're like sharing our dreams and all of a sudden it's like, I think, would you like to share that? Maybe you should record that because maybe it will, relate to, help somebody else think that, oh, okay, well, sometimes, as you said too, things seem so insignificant, yet when you begin to understand you're creating everything and nothing is insignificant. And when you do follow those nudges, there's always someone that needs to hear it. And we've heard that a million times from many, many channels. There's always at least someone who needs to hear what you have to share. And I have to tell myself that all the time, because I feel like so many of the messages are, I don't want to say redundant, but the truth is the truth. You know what I'm saying? And I was just telling Dave this too about how so much of what I experience, I don't even have the vocabulary to even explain. I don't even, or even channel it, for example. It's, so there's those elements of it where.
And we were just talking about just certain information that is just about the infiniteness of things, and there's no term other than infinite to describe infinite, and that's a term that describes something that you can't comprehend. So when you're getting a download or connecting to information or a channeling that's relaying this infinite information, and you're receiving it, and you have these feelings that are happening, it's almost impossible to describe, certainly in a physical sense.
Did you
Just
guys
overwhelming.
ever see the movie Lucy?
I
Any of
love
you?
that movie.
Oh
I
yeah,
love
Okay.
it.
I just got the chills because as you guys were talking after the channeling, I said to Dave, I said, this is exactly like right now I am so just buzzing, vibrating my whole body, like my whole body is vibrating right now at this, the knowingness of the infiniteness. And I said, I feel like Lucy trying to explain what she was experiencing.
Yeah.
It was almost impossible. And yet
Right.
that movie, yes, if you've seen it, boy, you remember it, don't you? Because it's,
Yeah.
That's what it's like.
that's what it's like when, and that is the best way to explain it, that I can't explain it. And as much as I want to, I often feel that words just pale in comparison to what you know what I mean? That whole, tidal wave through a funnel kind of thing, you know?
Yep.
So Wendy, one of the things I was going to comment, for individuals, like yourself who've done this for so long and you feel like, God, I've shared this message so many times. One of the things that I try to keep in mind is how many new people are coming
Yep.
to this exploration every single day.
I think about that, Chuck, I do. I think about, oh my God, how and they remind me of this. 10 years ago, a 24-year-old was 14. They're
Yeah.
24 now.
Yeah.
So their perspective, or maybe they're coming into it from the very beginning, or yeah. So I think about that too, that the generational idea behind that too,
Yeah.
and amping up the frequencies as we are.
Yeah. I
But
think that
again,
people,
seeing it from such a bigger perspective, and that you hear over and over, I hear in my head, but you're the one creating all of it. you're the one creating all of it. And that's an even bigger pie to munch into, it's like, it's
And
just,
and speaking of new beings, Travis is going to be bringing in a new being, and we all appreciate his patience with this. Can we get
Absolutely.
Heidi's perspective, and then we'll bring in Mr. Travis? We already had his introduction earlier. I think we're going to have to cut and splice that and use that on every one of his sessions. Heidi?
Oh, okay. So we're talking about our methods,
Yes. And thank you,
our
Wendy and Dave.
process. So the other day I was thinking, I would like to practice channeling, but I need an intention. And even if I set an intention, sometimes the channeling goes a completely different direction. So I find that, just some days there's just nothing, there's nothing that's coming through that is for that moment. And that's okay. But I do have to say that there's always been at least a meditation or a message of love, or something like that. I did just come back from Bali, and I had questions about that. So my intention was about my experiences there. So I find that the last thing I'll say is I find that usually if I'm asking about something in my personal life or one of my experiences, that's when some of the, for me, most profound teachings come through. And And so I love that. So I think, you know, just beginning channeling, that this is a good method for me to use to channel for my personal experiences, and then and to receive those teachings that come with that. And then maybe later, you know, those teachings will come in without, you know, under different circumstances on their own, or if that makes sense.
It does. At least it's in from my point of view, it's really good that you're open to that, no matter what form they take or when they come in. And you just have, like all of us, we have to assess, are we going to go with this in our 3D physical form, even though it's not really related. So, I mean, I don't know if, and well, I don't want to take up any more of Travis's time right now, but because I like to talk apparently tonight.
Well, to be continued in the next upcoming discussion.
Yes. And I think with that, we're going to officially close. The meeting has been ended. Okay, and welcome back to the second session of High Five Channeling. And thanks again, Tom, for all of your expertise, and Illi's too. And Travis, like I said, we already had your introduction earlier in your channeling process, and I'm very curious about the new beings which you are bringing with us. So if you'd be kind enough to unmute and tell us what's up, we will all appreciate it. And if anyone has questions, hit me up in the chat, obviously.
Okay. The new being. Well, technically new to you guys, not really me, because I have brought this being through before, and I practiced with them yesterday with my friend. I'll just say the name is I would call him Zal, which is spelled Xal. Which is basically he identifies himself as, well, very famous, from a famous extraterrestrial race called the Sassani, which I'm sure it would clarify enough, but I'm sure it would clarify enough with the particular being that has possibly came to me, possibly was one of those beings that came to me in dreams before, but he's a male member of the Sassani, and he's not a first contact specialist, but he does have a job with contact, which is a contact coordinator, which that would be something new, and I think he might explain it better than I can.
Oh, we'll wait and hear what Mr. Zal, the Sassani, has to say. Thank you.
Okay. Well, let's hope my eyes don't get glued shut. I don't end up blind by the end of this, because last night I had trouble opening my eyes. Hello. Now we would love to speak about my idea as I create this moment in contact with your civilization in this present here and now moment. We are communicating about, besides the fact that contact is not both physical and non-physical, as in it transcends both dimensionality itself. So we will be sharing with you what we have experienced. For me, myself, have experienced the idea of the contact coordinator coordinating contact with civilizations through spiritual means and other means as well, though not so readily physical. It has had a lasting physical effect on humans, as there may have been more close proximity to my ship. So we are sharing this, for we are readying your civilization as well as others toward this monumental moment in your history. And we would like to thank you for joining us in our frequency. And we will be communicating with you more. Now we will open the door to questions and answers from the crowd of people that are joining us today.
Am I up, Ray?
You are up.
So my question is, recently, wonderful to have you here, especially being Sassani. Recently, Bashar said that it looked like first contact was going to be pushed out to 28, 29. And previously he said that if Camilla was elected, it was going to be 26, 27. And I wondered if this change in first contact was a result of that election.
The change you're talking about through the 27 prediction?
Yeah, 26, 27 if Camilla was elected. And now he said, believe yesterday, that it looked like it was going to be pushed out to 28, 29.
The channel has no knowledge of this himself, but all we can say is that contact is going to happen nonetheless, and that's also dependent on which direction you move. For, as you know, the current one of president will also eventually be nudged out. So, in that way, it's also dependent on the choices you make.
Just to be clear, choices, just to be clear, is that the choices I make, or I mean, it would make sense to me that I create.
Yes, even the collective as well. 4, there are already plans in motion that you, on a conscious level, don't understand what is going on at the present moment behind the scenes. So everything is still going according to plan.
Thank you very much, Travis. Good to hear.
And you talking about the channel, are you?
Thank you, Zal. And thank you, Jennifer, for coming. I was curious, since it seems like you're not directly related in to open contact. Can you explain a little bit about your role in that, and also any encounters you personally have with the hybrid children, please? Thank you, Zal.
There's been some mistranslation. I'm not directly involved, but I am coordinating open contact with my civilization and yours in a variety of ways that you don't have the answer to at the moment. And as of, I participated with the hybrid children, especially the ones the channel has connected with. For the personally, who I have also have been assisted by Tasha, as well as the Pleiadians as well. So the hybrid children, yes, we have worked directly with them as well, me myself included.
That's nice. I really appreciate that. I'm just I have I I have a penchant for learning all I can about the hybrid children. So any information that you have on them is always welcome. Thank you. And thank you for clarifying your role as well. Can you mention someone else, or anything else about the hybrid children?
Anything else? Anything else?
Well, I know there's quite a variety of different races that are utilized depending on their missions, as I understand it. Is that correct?
Yes.
And because certain races have specialties, we will say, which make that portion of the hybrid children more capable for that mission, but enable them to flow more naturally, right?
Yeah.
Sounds like
what else would you like to know about this?
I'm just curious about anything else. Where does light language fit in with the hybrid children? Or does it?
There's already been language barriers, as light language is more of a universal concept, so that's why it fits in with all different types of races. Where does it fit in? For light language is part of the telepathic experience for them as their preparation for physically meeting you.
Wow. That's good information. I really appreciate that. That's exciting. And we appreciate all of your efforts as a contact coordinator to make sure that our personal and global contact goes smoothly. Thank you.
We're very grateful to be participating in this.
I know that. Can you explain more about how the cetaceans are going to be involved in open contact? I think part of it is the AI connection, where we will learn to communicate with them in some ways. But can you elaborate on that, please, Al?
They will participate in ways, yes, AI will be a part of it, but it also will involve the idea that the cetaceans will also be helping you communicate more with Sirius.
Ooh, nice. Are there other animals which will help us connect with various or with specific beings or races or star systems?
Those that have a symbolic meaning to those specific star systems. There will be the feline races that will help. There will be others that will help as well. Also, those of the canine, because there are races that have used the symbol of the canine.
Excellent. That's the first I have heard of that. I mean, I knew they existed, but I did not know that they were going to be integrating with us
Well,
in that way.
that's dependent because we can't clarify whether they're the beings that use the canine symbol are exactly canine in appearance.
Yes.
All we can just clarify is that that's a symbol of contact that they would use.
I understood. Because once, in my understanding, once consciousness or energy enters our physicalized or more dense or densified realm, then they assume whatever shape that is coherent for that expression, I will say.
Well, yeah. Also depending on when it's their time.
Cool. So can you expand a little bit more about your role as a contact coordinator? I'm assuming there are resources, human and physical and energetic, and other things that come into play with that.
Coordinating contact with civilizations among the stars. Basically, it's like coordinating contact from our realm, which is among the stars, to your realm, which is on the Earth. So I coordinate contact for new races.
So this is an overall role and not just focused just on Earth.
It's like coordinating contact with other races among the stars and your planet is not there's also has to be planned measures in order to make sure it goes smoothly.
Okay. We appreciate that due diligence. Everybody likes a smooth transition. So now when you say that, are you talking more about the beings themselves that you are coordinating to fill various roles or missions as we understand it?
Coordination. I'm talking about specific coordination of global contact for when open contact is initiated.
So basically you're the information desk in a way for all the other entities which come in, so they all know all their places. Are they confirmed where all their places are?
Coordination, yes. There are specific beings that we coordinated to specific areas of the planet, so it will be a global project.
Can you tell us more about specific beings for specific areas? That is new information for me.
The new information is that there will be coordination between areas, like, say, certain areas of the planet. Depending on the vibration of those areas, there will be specific areas that certain races. there are first contact teams around certain areas of the planet that will be helping with the initiation process of this contact.
Okay. Looking forward to that. Do you have any other message for our group since you haven't talked to us before?
Any message for your group? Well, it's also to be in a state where we are allowing our energies, for when we come, there will be more of our energy after your world achieves a global peace. So first find peace within yourself. Then you'll know what we mean.
Thank you. Bashar had mentioned that after we have open global contact, because of the vibrational differences, it will be about 15 years before we actually have physicalized contact with Sassani. And I know that depends on the vibration of all of the various timelines, whatever, but is that your understanding as well still?
From the understanding, it also depends on why there is a global effort for the idea of peace that will also be helping to be achieved by other races, but sometime after, at a certain point, yes, there will be physicalized contact in approximately 15 to 20 years as approximation. So it would be about possibly slightly after the global peace effort is achieved, for it will also help stabilize the vibration so we can make ourselves known.
Excellent. I'm going to stick around for that if you don't mind.
We certainly don't. Within your life path, as if it is. If it is in your life path, then we welcome it.
For a minute, I thought you were confirming that it was in my life path, and I got excited. But thanks for that.
Yes. Well, technically, your life path also follows your excitement. So either way, it's possible that you have something to look forward to. Leave the door open. That's what we'll say.
Absolutely. And thank you very much for that bit of wisdom. Although you still didn't tell us which particular beings are going to be at which part of the planet, but that's all right. I understand that you're only telling us.
That's a large scale, and that's a lot of information that would take too much time depending on how long, because coordinating that much effort, all we can say is that there will be, is that the channels area will have possibly a Palladian presence.
Cool. I'm glad I asked for a little clarification. Thank you very much. Is there any part about your job that you like better than others?
We love all parts. We prefer to stay in the moment and enjoy every part of our job, no matter what part it is. For that's the state we prefer to live in, the state of being we prefer to live in.
That is a very Sassani answer. Thank you very much for that. It does not appear like we have any other questions. We certainly hope that you will come back and thrill us again, Zal. This has been very enjoyable. And thank you very much for adding your energy and coming into our time during your time.
We are grateful for you, and I'll just leave you with a little bit of a place of location where our ship is positioned over one of your mountains in Africa. We thank you, and we send you our good day to you all, hot at 2, and good day to you, Earth Human.
Abeo.
Okay, so this was actually a lot better because I didn't go blind this time.
Well, yeah, I can imagine where that might be a drawback, especially if you're driving. That went very well, Travis. Have you been bringing Zal through?
I only brought him yesterday. Actually no, I brought him before. There are videos of him on my channel, but this was probably more clear and more varied in information than he has ever given in
Thank
any
you,
of my
Tom.
previous.
Yeah. Well done. Appreciate it. And thank you as well, Travis. That was, I enjoyed that. Especially
I'm just glad Tom stuck around to at least hear the message from Zal.
Yeah, well, cool.
I'm sure I'll speak to him again because I am friends with him as well. He subscribed to my YouTube channel. That's why he knows my channeling.
There you go.
But
I was going to say that I wish I had, I'm going to need another 2 lifetimes to watch everybody's YouTube channels.
Another 2 lifetimes.
I've already given up on watching all of my channeling because I do it too much, and if I had somebody to cook all my meals and take care of my house and my car and all of my errands and to dress me, then I might be able to channel and watch all that stuff. But
I'm not going to watch all my channeling because I do have other stuff I like to watch on YouTube, like entertainment and stuff like that I prefer to watch. I do watch some of my channeling, but if it's shorter videos, not like hour-long videos. Although if I do watch it, I would skim right through it because I want to at least get to the juicy information.
yeah, I like absorbing it again, and I like to, I try to put some kind of description out there for the YouTube description. So I kind of
the names all came to me in a dream.
Cool.
I actually, weirdest thing is, I think the being that was giving that name was a Pleiadian, which is weird. She had I didn't get a full on glimpse, so I could be wrong, but I just saw just kind of had the theme. It had but I did have dreams of Sassani before, and interesting dreams.
Cool.
Which can clarify that.
Another exciting and energetic evening. New guests, old guests. Yeah, and Tom has been channeling with us since November of 24. So he's an oldie but goodie. Him and Serge and Chris and Patrick and Jack and Raven and Kepler 162. Cool. Well, thank you all for adding your energy. Anybody else have anything that they would like to add?
I just want to say thank you, everyone. It's nice to be in everyone's energy.
Yep. Sounds like everybody's heading out. And Wendy, I know I'm really happy you and Dave will let me know when in August you're going to grace our presences again.
Oh, if sure thing. We never know what's going on. We never know what's going on one minute to the next.
I know. I'm sorry, go ahead.
We'll butt in if it's appropriate.
Well, I appreciate that because I'm really working on overcoming my shyness. Okay.
I think
Well,
you've improved a
thank
little.
you all. And Miles even stayed up for this one. It's amazing. I was hoping he could elaborate on his contact scenario. He had a physical contact in his presence. Maybe he will.
Well, I'm definitely
Well,
feeling the
much
hybrid
love to you
children
all,
vibe.
and I've enjoyed it.
Oh, sorry, Miles.
Yeah, no, that's quite all right, Wendy.
I missed what you said, Miles.
I said much love to you all, and
Oh, okay.
it's very
All right.
enjoyable.
And thank you. And Wendy, anytime you got the hybrid children vibe, that's a cool thing to me.
Yeah.
Cool.
We'll
Well,
talk about the hybrid children when I talk when we chat.
yay. I'll look forward to that. All right. We're calling it a
Night,
night.
everyone.
Thank you all. It was a wonderful, wonderful evening. And we will do this again soon, like Sunday at 6:30 Eastern Time, Sunday night. See everybody then. Bye, everyone. Thank
Thank
you.
you very much. Bye bye.